this one's a little different. I appreciate you guys coming out, roll coverage, but I'm taking the time machine. We're going back to the introductory press conference that David Allen Tepper did when he bought our Carolina Panthers. I want to see what he thought back then. Maybe we'll compare it to some events that have happened since then. This is obviously years in the past, but without further ado, let's jump into it.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Nope.
They roll coverage.
So yeah, man, this is going to be a long one. Hopefully you are ready for this ride. Hopefully you can drop your thoughts in the comment as we go along. Let's go.
Good morning, and welcome to Bank of America Stadium. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate the time and effort and know that your presence we don't take for granted. My name's Stephen Drummond. I work with our communications and digital team. Today's a great day to be a Carolina Panther. We're beyond thrilled to introduce our new owner, David Tepper, and usher in a new start to Carolina Panthers football.
It truly was, man. And just to think about it, we're obviously going through the controversy. Today is actually April 1st is when I'm recording this. So you guys will actually probably get this tomorrow on the 2nd. But yeah, I mean, we could have had P. Diddy, a dude who's now might go to jail for being a child sex trafficker. So I'm a little bit happy that it was David Allen Tepper instead of somebody else. But man, obviously, again, hindsight is 2020. I know what's happened since this press conference. But man, when it got sold finally, I was so happy. I was so excited for the future. And I'm hoping this resells me on that dream from so long ago.
Great opportunity and responsibility comes with being one of the 32 owners in the National Football League. You have a unique platform to not only impact your community, but really have an impact across our world. And Dave really understands that. He gets that. And I can't wait to hear him share with you guys his vision for this team and this entire region. So with that, I'd like to welcome the new owner of the Carolina Panthers, Mr. David Tepper.
You know what? I'm going to pretend like I'm watching this for the first time.
Hey, thanks, Steve. You got socks on
I feel like I've seen him in that same goddamn shirt about 1,000 times.
today? Not today. Okay, just checking. Listen, I'm thrilled to be here. You know, it's incredibly exciting. Great organization, great football organization. And listen, it's a new day for this organization, and hopefully we'll have, you know, bigger and better things to come, including Super Bowl championships in the future. So with that, if you guys have any questions, I'm open. I'll let Steve.
Guys, make sure that you state your name and your affiliation just so Dave can start.
He's giving instructions to the reporters.
Hey Dave, good morning. Joe Person with the Charlotte Observer.
Shout
I
out,
know
Joe.
your face.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
When we spoke to you in Atlanta, you said that you needed some more time to evaluate things, and I know it's only been 6 weeks, but what changes are you looking to make organizationally or personnel-wise just to kind of make sure the things that happened under Jerry don't continue?
By the way, shout out, Joe. I love the soul patch. It totally looks like you used to run an early 2000s rock band. But pretty good question as well.
Well, this is, I don't know if I quite have 24 hours yet that I own this team, so still evaluating things. In general, like I just said, I like to have an open environment, one big family environment, where.
Okay, yeah, I can't hold my tongue on that. You want a family environment, but yet you implanted 2 moles in Campen and Chris Tabor against a newly hired Frank Reich and the most tenured coaching staff ever, and decide it's okay to greenlight backstabbing? I don't think that's a family, my guy.
Everybody feels safe like a family. And that means you can come up and talk to people And there's going to be, just openness on all sides of this organization, on both the football side and the business side.
And he's going to probably touch on that quite a bit. We've had the discussion of, oh my God, we got Beyonce, so we should be happy as Carolina Panthers fans. I'm not going to go there with that, but man, you bought a football team. You should be worried about football first. This kind of just blows my mind. I didn't actually watch this press conference back in the day. I remember just kind of watching ESPN. It got announced. I was super happy. They might have showed a clip or two, and I moved on with my life. Man, so many red flags that we're now obviously seeing. However many years this is later, it's like 7 or something years, 9 years later, whatever the hell.
Eric, go ahead.
Eric Spanberg, oh, there we go. Eric Spanberg with the Charlotte Business Journal.
The Charlotte Business Journal. Why does that sound so familiar? Oh my God! Wasn't there something where they gave exclusivity, or they were taking questions from the Business Journal or something like that instead of Sheena Quick at one point? If you remember that, please drop it below.
You made a reference to development when we were in Atlanta, and all of us have been speculating ever since. So can you talk a little bit about future practice fields, training camp headquarters, those kinds of things? How will you approach that? What's your timeline?
Well, I don't know who wrote the articles about practice field, and this being one of the few places that doesn't have new practice fields. Obviously, we're in need. So I think a lot of these things can't be done independently. I can't talk about a practice field without talking about new stadiums. And as I said before, I view this as, a Carolina Panthers in both states. So we have to think about where we're putting.
Carolina in both states, but didn't he remove the college we used to go to for a special like training portion? Wasn't that? Oh, I'm just gonna keep going.
Things and where we're putting things, but one of the things I did say that winning is important. One way or another, we have to make can't be less than competitive with other NFL teams. And at this point, given our practice field and what other.
To this point, we are the worst team in the NFL on record, or by record, I mean, since he took over. So
people have in the league, we're falling behind a little bit. So that's because I do view the football side. This is a business. Don't forget that. You're the business guy, I guess, in the room here. So.
Okay, so this is interesting. If it's the Charlotte Business Observer, whatever the hell that one was, I need to go find that clip, and we're going to put it together. So shout out to anybody if they find that.
But the football side is very important, and winning is, like I said, very important, on the football side, and I mentioned the community side. But one of the aspects is that we treat our players right, and we don't have any disadvantages to any other teams in the league. So, top priority would be thinking about that practice field.
Jordan.
Hi, David. Welcome. Jordan Rodriguez with the Charlotte Observer. In terms of a revenue standpoint and modernizing this organization to compete with the league around it and the world around it, what are some of your ideas, your ingenuity as you come in and kind of get an overall view of this organization?
Great question, by the way. Fantastic question.
So, you're talking about more the business side again, I think. So,
That's your wheelhouse, my guy. This shouldn't be hard.
look, we have just a law that was passed just recently, and it's not yet hit the Carolinas, the whole gambling aspect. And you think about the fans, and you want to keep the fans in the building. Eventually, it's going to hit, North and South Carolina. It has to, from a revenue standpoint. You have issues with, paying teachers and other things down here, and, tax revenues, so that's inevitable. When we're thinking about these things, we have to take that into consideration because, I want to make sure fans are in that building.
By the way, am I the only one that's uncomfortable with how many buttons he has undone on his shirt?
And sharing this team. And I don't want fans not in that building, so we have to, if the things come, so, we are, sometimes you get lucky when you don't think you're lucky. So one of the things we're lucky is that we do have an old stadium that we have to redo. We do have an old practice field. We don't have, we have to new practice fields. And along those things, with some of the changes with the gambling, we do have an advantage that we can think about what fans may want.
That tells me that he's kind of betting that when it comes to the Carolinas, the Carolina Panthers will be in the catbird seat essentially and be able to immediately cash in on that. So I would expect now with gambling and everything getting legalized in North Carolina, and obviously as South Carolina comes as well, that he is going to try to do that. So that's probably where his thoughts of business is, along with bringing Beyonce to the Carolinas. Whoop-de-doo.
To make sure they're in our building to cheer this team on, because I do think an active fan base, I do believe that the fans are the 12th man on the field, okay? And I want to make sure that 12th man's in that stadium. So, like I said, some of those things where there are revenue producers, there's other development here. You know, if we do move the practice field to someplace other than right next to the stadium, which doesn't necessarily makes so much sense, you know, you do open up a lot of area for development and other development here, and there's going to be the new Amtrak station, you know, it's just up on 4th Street, I guess, where the Greyhound station is, if I got that right. So I'm thinking about those sort of things, and you know, all these things are, you know, everything goes hand in hand in this community. You know, and it's not just the business things; it's a matter of also things like high school games, and I kind of think that high school championships should be played in that stadium. That's what I think, okay? Because that's part of the community, bringing that in the community. I also think that there should be more, I don't want to screw up the field, but I think there should be more bigger events there, like, you know, the right type of concerts, okay?
What's the right type of concert first? That's a weird thing to interject. And again, this whole concert thing, again, I have hindsight. April 1st, 2024. April Fool's Day. Again, you're going to get this on April 2nd. But all he's given us to this point is concerts. And who gives a shit about concerts? I was about to say conference. Who gives a crap about concerts when the football team is absolute garbage? I just don't understand the thought process. I don't understand I understand he's separating the two as football and another as business, but they are two sides of the same coin. You could not have the business side and people would not come to that stadium as, you know, you wouldn't be able to have afforded that stadium, first of all, if it wasn't for football. So there's so much that goes into that if you're prioritizing business and you're like, man, we need to get other events in here to make money, it's because you understand that you don't care about the football product. If you cared about the football product, you wouldn't have overridden football people and had you and your wife's decision influence our quarterback. So, again, I know I'm nitpicking. I know I'm supposed to be enjoying this and trying to understand, but man, everything that I'm hearing is stuff that he hasn't done. If he wants to hang his hat on the last whatever years that he finally got Beyonce to come to Carolina, then whoop-de-doo. Like, that's not what we want from a football team. I'm sorry.
In that stadium that there really hasn't been. So I think I want to utilize the stadium a lot more for the community, because I think that's important as being a member of the community. So that's it.
Real quick though, I do want to touch on, I'm not like slighting Beyonce here, okay? Beyonce's a great singer. Her country album is going to do really well. I just don't think that's the draw for a football crowd. I'm sorry, I keep using her name. I'll switch it up with some other people, but I just don't understand why concerts is the thing that you want to hang your hat on when you own a fucking football team. I don't know. I don't. And as a fan, you know, some people will call me negative and everything like that. No, I just need to see it. I need to see you execute it. People can say Caleb Williams is Patrick Mahomes, but until he gets to the NFL and does Patrick Mahomes-like things on a regular basis, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not anywhere close to it. He's still in college, technically. I mean, I think now he's declared for the draft, so now he's going professional, but you know what I mean. He hasn't even played a single down or a single training snap or anything with officially the NFL team that he would be playing for. So I can't give him that. Just like I can't give Bryce Young is going to take this massive leap forward, and next year he's going to throw 39 touchdowns and 4,500 yards because he's got Deontay Johnson. That's just not, this isn't Madden. It doesn't just immediately translate. Sometimes it takes time to develop, and he just might not be the right guy. Do I think Deontay Johnson's going to be great? Absolutely. But do I all of a sudden think that Bryce Young is going to go from 2,800 yards to north of 4,000? If he does, great. Then he's proving the reason why he was a number one pick. But as of right now, he does not look like a number one pick. But circumstance matters. Personnel matters. In fact, I was the one, roll coverage, me, Nick here, right here, calling out the personnel in August, in September, in October of last year. And all people did was tell me I didn't know football. They told me, oh, Bryce is this, Bryce is that. But I told you he didn't have the horses back then. I wasn't just one of these people that was like, oh man, it looks off. And then pretending like that's some clairvoyant statement. I straight up called the personnel out as subpar and said Bryce could not succeed with his personnel, period. End of story. So I think we need to see it before we do anything. I'm not going to believe David Allen Tepper, and I want to make sure that I say out his name every time because I don't ever want it to get misconstrued with somebody else. This dude is the worst thing to happen to the Carolina Panthers franchise in a long time.
Katie?
Good morning, Mr. Tepper. I know that you said that you are on board with a lot of the recommendations that Mary Jo White recommended be implemented league-wide. Those recommendations including the prohibition of the use of non-disclosure agreements to limit violations of workplace misconduct will be reviewed by the league. Within the Panthers, will you implement those recommendations regardless of what the league decides? Specifically the non-disclosure agreement part.
Specifically, none of
That's, I'm not going to lie, perfect question for this man. Because he decided to throw water on a fan because he got mad.
Listen, whatever was, this is now, okay? This is going to be an open place. So there's not going to be, non-disclosure agreements no matter what in this new place.
Okay, I'm going to clip that, and I'm going to put it out there for the internet. So if we ever hear a goddamn thing about an NDA inside the Carolina Panthers, this dude's a fucking liar.
And that sort of thing. Okay, that was then. This is now. Okay, that was then. This is now. This is going to be an open place where people are going to have the right people to talk to come up with problems. And by the way, if that problem, if I do something incredibly stupid, they should be talking about me. Okay, that's the place. That's what this place is going to be. Okay.
So thank you for giving me the green light. Obviously, I mean to talk shit about you.
Ashley?
Good morning, Ashley Mahoney.
Oh,
with the Charlotte
sorry,
Post.
Ashley. I was looking over there. I apologize.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Welcome to Charlotte.
Thank you.
In terms of
I'm sorry, were you with? I'm sorry.
the Charlotte Post.
Okay, the Charlotte Post, okay.
In terms of looking at the overall scheme of not only the city, but the relationships with local city government as well as county side of things, have you had a chance to converse or perhaps engage and start potential relationships with a fairly newly elected body on the city council side?
Listen, I really haven't had any extensive conversation.
Okay, she's talking about will he get involved in like city stuff, city councils, and all that other stuff. So again, he's introductory press conference, like he said, he's only on the team for less than 24 hours. Gonna give him a little bit of slack there, but his first goal should be community outreach and getting people involved. It should have been a unifying effort to unite North and South Carolina, but he's honestly done the opposite. I think it's a weird situation of what we were told versus the reality of what happened, but that's the business world. That's the world that he came from. He can do that to people because he had the money to manipulate people. So I think this is more of the smoke and mirrors that we've seen transpire over the course of mainly the 22, 23, and now 24 seasons. So obviously we couldn't see that then. Wool was pulled over most of our eyes. Myself included. I really just wanted this to work. I wanted us to, make a turnaround and really succeed. And unfortunately, he's been unable to do that.
Conversations with governors and such. Had a very quick reading with the mayor, but that's about it. There's a lot of discussions to have about how we do things here. This is in my view, this is a partnership. Hopefully, not just with, and again, like I said, this is the logical place for the stadium. Not just with Charlotte, if that's what it is, but also with hopefully the governor of North Carolina and the governor of South Carolina. And even though I haven't really returned their calls yet, I'm happy to return their calls now. It wasn't appropriate before, I didn't view it. So I think there's a lot to talk about, and I think there's some really interesting things from the development side for them and for us, the Panthers, to consider. Okay, so.
Let's go to Paul.
Hey, good morning.
Hi, how you doing?
Trevor, good, nice to see you
Nice to
again.
see you again. Yeah.
I think there are two schools of thought when it comes to professional sports teams being supported by tax dollars. You have those who say, look, it's an economic driver. It helps the city. It's a crown jewel for a city like Charlotte. And then there's another school of thought that says, hey, a billionaire can support his own sports team. How do you approach that, especially as it relates to all the talk about a new stadium?
Let's just talk about what you're doing here and what we're doing. If I go and I put a development, I bring a lot of dollars in here and tax dollars in here and F&B dollars. If you have an F&B tax or a hotel tax or something like that, and I'm bringing that tax in there, I'm making that investment. I'm not asking for people who aren't using those facilities. So there's a lot of different ways you're talking about it. If I'm talking about people, if we're talking about win-win situations.
He's basically trying to say it's justified to use public dollars that could be used for social services and all that other stuff to offset the cost to a billionaire owner to buy or renovate a stadium or something like that, because the people in the community will use it. So I find it hard for you to be like, man, we really need to be involved in the community and I really want high schoolers to play here and all this other BS. And then in the next breath, you're like, but they should pay me $400 million to build a new stadium because they're going to come to the games. But they're not going to come to the games for free. You're not going to offset those costs, nothing like that. They're still going to pay full price. And in fact, after our 2-game season, you actually raised prices. Well, this is all BS in my mind. Like,
I like it. How about Carolina and Teppers charging 4% ticket increase for next year for the Panthers?
Wow.
I mean, you guys, son.
Because they won some games?
You got to be serious. You're not serious, are you? With this God-forbidden franchise that stinks, where you're firing head coaches, when you're telling everybody who to draft on draft day, including Young instead of C.J. Stroud. And I love Young too, but that was a mistake. In a market that cares more about college basketball than the NFL, in a stadium that's a little old, and you're going to make them ante up 4% more. I don't care what the percentage is. You should give them the games for free. And you're going to, even for exhibition games, you're going to make them pay for it. When you guys make a fortune, when the NFL prints money, and you're going to charge those poor Panther fans 4% more? 4%. That is a complete, utter disgrace. And for an owner who has absolutely no good PR.
This is talking out of 1 year out of the, or in one out, whatever the analogy is. I'm so annoyed with this. I'm just going to move on.
Okay, it can't just be for me and it can't just be for them. So it has to be a partnership, and partnerships means win-win. And that's definitely possible if you think that way. So if we do development here that does new development that keeps people here, just not on stadium day, and we open it up for other things, and I make an investment in MOS, and I bring that in here, and I bring that many more dollars into.
You see how angry he's getting? This is somebody that's like, I am entitled to this money to build this stadium because you guys are going to come use it. And this is the pompous dickwad that we've seen.
The community, and that's businesses in the community, and there's more tax dollars generated, then that makes sense to split some of those tax dollars. That's not taxing people who aren't using those facilities, but they're using they're using things that I'm helping bring here. That's the partnership.
Let's go to Viv.
Yeah, see, look at his snotty little face. God, he's such a whiny little bald man.
I'm sorry, which?
My name is Viv Bernstein,
Okay.
Sports Illustrated. I wanted to follow up on Joe Person's question and ask you if you plan to do an investigation into all the folks in the organization who were aware of the harassment over the years, who aided and abetted and created that culture here that I don't know perhaps still exists. Are you investigating that?
Oh, that was the previous regime, and we're new. We're turning over a new leaf. Okay, so this. Thank you, Joe Person. Thank you, Miss Liv. Thank you to everybody asking these questions, because these are the moments where you see him get visibly upset. In fact, there was a press conference earlier in the year where I think it was like 8 minutes long or 11 minutes long, and I remember Sheena, shout out Sheena Quick, hopping on a Spaces afterwards and being like, they just cut us off and all this other stuff, because he got mad at the questions that were being asked. So I cannot wait to see his face turn red and him just give some BS billionaire answer.
In my 24 hours so far here, you mean?
Are you planning to?
Listen, I can't emphasize enough the openness I plan to have this organization have, and openness and
He's just giving promises that he never kept.
team of this organization. I think there's been an atmosphere where this organization, I'm talking more on the business side, wasn't allowed to be a team, and there was not able to go up and talk about things, okay? There's gonna be no impediment to that in the future. There's gonna be no, let me just say that again. There's gonna be no impediment to that in the future. And whatever that means and whatever that brings, that will bring. And whatever falls, that will fall. That's all I can say, okay, on that.
See, look how angry he gets because he knows that he's going to do the exact same shit that he did before. Come on. Him saying like, oh, it's not going to come back. We're a family. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then to read the Joe Person, Diana Rossini, Hunger Games article, man, fuck out of here with this.
Bill. Hey Dave, Bill Goff of Panthers.com. I guess piggybacking off of that and the structure, I imagine because you're not giving up your other job, you're currently looking for a president. If so, are you able to update on where that search is and what are you looking for in a guy who will be taking over the day-to-day duties here? Or a woman, correct?
Or a woman, yeah. Look, obviously experience running a sports team is probably be number one, and different types of experience like that. One of the things that, and also develop, obviously some of the obvious business things, marketing, development experience of some sort, to be able to do that, because as we talk about.
So it's funny because he laughs at that whole woman thing, but we actually currently have a woman president. I was trying to see if we had a list of all of our presidents somewhere. Oh, they haven't even updated. Oh, here we go. Executives. Head coach. Oh, it's only showing GMs and owners. It's not showing presidents. Yeah, it's not showing presidents. It's only showing GMs on Pro Football Reference. Our current GM, or our team president, I'm sorry, is Christy Coleman, brought in 2022. So we do actually have a woman team president. I was trying to figure out who was here before. Can't remember who was the one before her, but if somebody can remember it, please drop it down below. Yeah, I can't seem to find a list of all of our former presidents because, why, of course, would you need that information?
There's probably a lot of development here. And, I just want to make sure that the person's here knows, the person, and I know that there's a couple of people I'm kind of pinned down on, but that they will be able to build a good team here. And also understand the philosophy that I just outlined to Viv Bernstein, of openness and a team environment and one family. Okay, we're a family here, and I want to make sure people understand that family is the family includes the football side and includes the business side. That's where I run my other business. You asked about my other business. It's a family, okay? This is a family, and the family's protected, and the family feels safe in here.
Boy, man, I bet Frank Reich would have something to say about that.
Inside this building, inside this environment. So I'm going to look for somebody that kind of can make sure they have that vision, okay?
Let's go to Jim.
In your opinion, and please just drop in the comments, has he found that person? Because I don't think Dan Morgan is that person. I'm going to be honest, I don't really think Dave McCandless is going to be a long-term head coach. I think he's going to be a great OC for a long time. But the problem is where he came from, man. He came from a place with Baker, which I don't care what anybody says about Baker. Baker is a football player. Not saying Bryce Young isn't, but Baker truly is and has proven that. Has won in the NFL. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, that defense that they had coming off of Brady's Super Bowl and all that other stuff, like that team stayed pretty close to the same. So to act like that Bucs team wasn't considerably better than the Panthers, they were just underachieving with their quarterback. Like if you literally had taken Patrick Mahomes and put him in a Bucs uniform, he wins a Super Bowl. I mean, yes, the Chiefs obviously won it because they had Patrick Mahomes as well, the magician. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the Panthers were close at any point. We haven't been close since he's taken over. I don't understand this idea that you just have to buy into what this snake oil salesman is selling you. Come on, guys. You're smarter than that.
Jim Morrison, WGNC Radio, Carolina Sports Network. Speaking football, you said winning championships is your ultimate goal here. You come from an organization that's had 3 head coaches in 49 years. Do you have a vision of what they did there that you want to see implemented here to kind of speed that process up, like things that they did there that you want to take from that organization to put in place here?
You know, you say speed that process up. It's kind of not speed that process up, okay? A certain amount of patience and let things develop. You actually have, I don't want to give people too many compliments, but you actually are blessed with a pretty good football side here. You know, a head coach that kind of understands himself. I appreciate some of the changes that were made on that staff side. In my view, I would had nothing to do with it, but I'm just going to appreciate it. Norv is a pretty good addition in my mind. You know, on the offensive side, and I think Ron he's a natural defensive guy. Okay, just natural. I mean, natural like walking down the street and drinking water. Natural. So I think you got to appreciate you got a guy that understands that he wants to have a strength in the organizations and bring in good people to do that. That's important. So I think that's kind of the things you like to see. So listen, I'm not.
Yeah, it's only like you fired him just a few years later. No big deal.
Looking to do too much there. I think we got some good folks there. And, you know, I know people always want to hear things that are bad or not, but I'm sorry, can't do it. So it is what it is.
Let's go to Phil Orban.
Hey, Dave, Phil Orban from WSOC in Charlotte.
I cannot stand this man's demeanor. Not this reporter. He's great. But DAT, David Allen Tepper. God, this dude is... Oh, are you heard about people that can sell ice to a snowman? This is one of those dudes. He told everybody that this team was going to be, you know, competing, and we're the worst team in the NFL.
You were very emotional at the Carnegie Mellon commencement speech, and I'm wondering to what extent this process has let you kind of reflect on your career and yourself, and what'd you find yourself?
Ask me that one more time.
You were very emotional at Carnegie Mellon, and I'm wondering if this process, you know, if you're kind of in the business world, you're go, has this process let you kind of reflect on how far you've come and how you've maybe grown as a person,
okay.
and to what extent?
Yeah. Well, back to that Carnegie Mellon, just related to this, I mean, it was hard for me to get the words out, as I said there. I mean, you guys just have to just understand my neighborhood. It was in East Liberty in Pittsburgh. It was real inner city stuff. So, and I think I said there that I didn't go to a pro game till I was into my 20s somewhere. So just, you know, this whole idea is kind of crazy to me. And listen, I really do, I know people, I really do, I am a person who has inner faith, okay? So I kind of wake up sometime and just say, thanks God, thank you God. I don't know. That it just is what it is, okay, for me. And I say God bless America, because I think this is a great place to be. And I think everybody in this room is incredibly lucky to be in this country. So those two things, you know, I do reflect on all the time, and my fortune, and I do think of the different parts of my life, because sometimes it seems like different lives for me. And I do appreciate, I think it gives me appreciation to help to do the charity side, and, you know, where I came from, and, you know, how people lived and what happens in certain situations. I think, my high school class was near 800 going in and 500 going out. You know, that sort of thing, and I think there's worse than that in some places now still. So, you know, I do think about some of this stuff, and listen, I've been reflecting a lot about the football players here. I know you didn't ask me, but I'm just going to talk.
Okay, if he's going to talk about football players, and I'm going to give him some props here in this moment, I can only imagine how it is to grow up in a specific area, and then dream of one day maybe playing for that football team, and then instead of playing, you end up buying the team, and you're the owner, you're one of the 32. I can only imagine how it feels, man. I don't know, obviously, everything or really even a whole lot about what's gone on in his life previously, other than what's been publicized. Um, we're not sure the trials and tribulations that other people go through. So I got to give him some props here for opening up at least a little bit. Of course, this could all be fake, but man, how many times? You got to be honest with me. Right here, it's just me and you now. Like, how many times have you sat down with your buddies, sit down with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your kids, your whatever, and you're like, man, wouldn't it be really cool to own insert team here? I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. I'd love to own the Panthers. I'd rather own my Charlotte Hornets or my backup NBA team, the New York Knicks. Of course, I've dreamt about waking up and being like, man, I'm rich. I can just go and I can go get some floor seats at my favorite basketball team. And, I own the team. I don't really need to worry about it. I can just do what I need to do. We've all had that. So I can't fault him for being like, man, I came from a specific place. I never thought I'd get here. And now that I'm here, it's surreal. And, you don't know the words for it. I can only imagine. And if I ever get the opportunity to own any team, whether or not it be professional, semi-pro, anything, I will take the same love and care that I always said that I would if I ever owned a team, because I'm the same way. I care about the players, care about what you're going through. I want to be there to support the community and all that other stuff. So I'm okay with this statement. Now, obviously, he's going to go off and talk about football, which is what he should be focused on, but still, congratulations in the accomplishment of being able to even acquire the teams.
About this a little bit and some of these issues that somebody's going to ask me eventually. There's incredibly good guys here. I mean, really good guys that love this country, that don't get said enough. And, and I think, and good guys that are charitable on this team. I mean, you should see I don't know if you guys appreciate and look on the website, the organizations that these guys, I'm talking about the football players, are involved in. So I think that, and I hope to hopefully get, more involvement from them, but they're already involved, okay? They're already involved. I know it doesn't get reported enough, and I know it doesn't get said enough, but hopefully we can start accentuating the positive a little bit more, around. So, and I hopefully I can bring that out. And listen, I'm going to be told by my press people that I shouldn't be saying any of this, but you ever watch, I think I might have said this some other place, you ever watch Spider-Man? Spider-Man? I love Spider-Man. You like Spider-Man? With great,
With great power comes great responsibility, yes.
Power comes great responsibility. So I think I have that, and I think our players have that too, and I think a lot of them appreciate that. So I don't know if that answers you. That's a long, and nobody else is going to get as long as answer as that one, so.
JJ.
Hey, Dave. Jonathan.
It's interesting that he says he's a Spider-Man fan, but yet traded away a player whose nickname is Spider-Man.
Name in a while, hasn't had a touch. Garoppolo. Thrown down! Brian Burns.
Spider, whatever you call it.
Jones with Sports Illustrated. You have been in the NFL now for coming up on 10 years. So you've not necessarily the seat at the table, but you've had a seat at the table. Now that you have one of the 32 votes at the table, what do you consider to be the biggest issue facing football and the NFL moving forward, and especially as we look down the barrel of a new CBA in the next 3 years?
Well, the CBA is definitely a challenge, and it always is a challenge. Every CBA is a challenge. I suspect this CBA won't be more of a challenge. Listen, I guess, obviously CTE is a challenge. The league has been on top of the issue, making rule changes. I mean,
as they should. They need to protect their players. I don't know of any other job where, you can go in there and get brain damage and it's completely okay and they can wash their hands of it. We don't allow the military to get away with it. You've seen all those millions of things with the 3M earplugs, talking about people losing, their hearing and having issues with brain damage from being in the military. And even we're holding them accountable. So the NFL needs to be held accountable as well. I'm not going to compromise on that. We just also banned the hip drop tackle. I don't really care what anybody says. Go find me a really good highlight of a really great player hip drop tackling or giving a hip drop tackle to somebody. Go see Ray Lewis. That's not what he was doing. He was tackling people. Subpar tacklers had to use the hip drop. It's as simple as that.
Listen, I still have Steeler gear someplace in my closet, so I'm just going to make that admission right now. So, but I have more Panther gear now. But, Shazier, that was like a big shock. And I think some of the changes, there's constant changes going on in the league, and I think the league is really thinking about it and trying to address those issues constantly. And some of the different tackling ways you have to tackle and tackling penalties, I think, are going there. So I do think that's a challenge, but I think it's been addressed.
Tiffany?
Hi, Tiffany Blackman over here.
Oh, hi, Tiffany.
NFL Network. Going back to what you were mentioning about positivity and then your time with the Steelers, Art Rooney spoke so highly of you. What will you take from your experience and time with him and apply here?
I'm going to do everything that Art Rooney was doing, but then do the opposite. That's what he actually did. But let's hear about what he thinks he was going to do.
Well, like I said, I was answering the football. I think the Steelers had a pretty good philosophy. Dan and Art had a pretty good philosophy on the Steelers side, and so I'll take those sort of lessons. I'll take the patience and letting things develop. Which I think sometimes things are made too fast. I also have a personal great appreciation for things I don't know, and as I mentioned before, that's not them, that's me. Although I think they are, they have that appreciation too. Listen, obviously a great organization, and it certainly is not a bad thing to have been with them for 9 years and kind of just make observations. So I don't have that much more to say than that, if that answers the question.
Darren?
And he keeps looking to his left. It looks like he's looking at his press people to be like, come on, let's wrap this up. That's actually what he did in the one. I swear, I might have to send a cold DM to Sheena on Twitter to figure out the one, because I swear, if it's the same one, if it's that Charlotte Business Observer, whatever the hell it was at the beginning, so much.
David, Darren Gann,
Explains so much, I mean.
Pro Football Talk. You've been willing to make pointed comments to powerful people in the past. How will you support players if they have opinions that may not be in line with large sections of your fan base and your customers here?
I don't really.
That's a valid. Okay. That's a really solid question. How are you going to defend your players when they decide to go at another owner that you're going to have to deal with in a CBA agreement or something like that? Okay. Owners stick together, man. They don't give a shit about the millionaires. All they care about is the money and the billionaires. So
make that many pointed comments to that many powerful people, to tell you the truth. I made some. You're referring to things I did during the campaign, but I've tried not to make any. Since that powerful person you're referring to has been the President of the United States, I really haven't said anything about it, except for a few positive things on economic policy, which...
Is he praising Trump?
Again, you guys choose not to talk about. If you decide to talk about those things, we'll talk about those things, but people don't like to talk about positive things.
Of course, you're changing the subject.
But listen, there's... for my charity stuff, I'm a big believer in social justice. And I'm actually a big believer in, the country, and I'm patriotic. And you guys know the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America?
The number one way we indoctrinate people? Yeah, absolutely. I literally had to say it every day of my life for 15 years.
You know that? For the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Oh, that under God part, just so you know, wasn't added until like the 70s. In fact... You know what? I'm going to look it up right now. Under God to the pledge. I'm sorry, I was a little off. It's June 15th, 1954. So, originally written in 1892, which it had no reference to religion. So that under God shit means nothing.
Indivisible. What's that last part? With liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all.
Man, Frank Reich really needs to hear this. It's for liberty and justice for all. Okay.
That's what this is about. Liberty and justice for all. Okay? This is the most patriotic thing going. So that's all I got to say about that.
What a joke.
We got time for two more. We're going to go to Kyle Bailey, and then we're going to go to Scott Fowler.
Hey, David. Kyle Bailey, WFNZ Sports Radio.
Kyle Bailey's actually pretty cool.
In that same theme, last week President Trump told his rally goers there in Montana the NFL ratings were down 20%. Now, the extent to which that's true, I'll let you comment on that, but I am curious what you kind of see on the horizon in terms of media landscape, media partnerships, because, you know, it is increasingly difficult to not just attract eyeballs, but keep them there. So, you know, that's something I think I've heard you talk about a little bit in the past. What do you see on the horizon for the NFL and really all sports in that front?
And again, this video was posted 7/10/2018. So this is pre-pandemic. This is pre-everything. We're 2 years into the Trump presidency at this point. Pre-January 6th, all that other stuff. So this is a very different time. This is before, you know, kind of a massive change, to be honest, in our country. And without getting into the politics stuff, I want Mr. Tepper to answer.
You know, TV's been it's been fractionalized, so to speak. So there's a lot of different media. So you're talking about TV ratings, but when you add up all the different, you know, social media, Apple, Amazon, that I don't think football is being affected any more or less than anything else. I also think this thing that we talked about a little bit before, called gambling, is going to make ratings go down. I just have a feeling about that. Okay, you may know more about that than me, but that's my feeling. So.
I need to clip that and see if now, again, this is 2018, 2024 now, did it affect it?
Football, look, this is the best sport, okay, my opinion. I mean, I love this game. I love watching this game. I watch games. I watch all kinds of different games, and it's the only sport, talking about football again, and I know about you folks out there, but I can watch almost any team on any Sunday, okay, because
Yeah, bro, we had people tuning into Matt Corral-led Birmingham Stallions. Like, people will watch anything.
Just because it's entertainment, and it's great entertainment. And while I love the playoffs of some other sports, it's not football. Okay, you watch a regular season baseball game and let me know how that goes for some other team someplace else in the country. And I'm not making any cracks about baseball, so I apologize to baseball fans everywhere, so I know I hear about that. I love baseball, by the way. Roberto Clemente was my idol when I was a kid, just as an aside. But anyways, that's kind of my feeling about that.
Scott Fowler from the Charlotte Observer. There's a 13-foot statue of Jerry Richardson outside the north gate. Do you plan to leave that as is or move it?
I'm contractually obligated to keep that statue as it is.
All right,
The
guys.
nice and easy answer. That's pretty much the end. As you can see, there's only about 15 seconds.
Photographers, we're going to take a few.
Yeah, they're just going to do pictures and everything. Let's hop it over here. And I'm going to give you my final thoughts, okay? I don't like this press conference. I'm actually really happy that I went back and decided to do this little reaction to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, but overall this just showed me, kind of reaffirmed, I would say, everything that I've thought about David Allen Tepper for the last, we'll say 5 years, be conservative. I am severely disappointed in the franchise. He is unable to handle himself in what seems like a professional manner. Obviously, I'll drop some F-bombs and everything like that, but I'm not the owner of an NFL team, so he is held to a different standard when it comes to that. He snaps whenever he doesn't like the question. He adds these weird qualifiers onto it and all this other stuff because he doesn't want to answer directly, because he knows if he's not going to get the reaction that he wants. He wants people to be on his side, and that's how he's gone about his business life. He's gone about it in a way that is him first, and I'm sorry for saying this, but fuck everybody else. So I don't have faith moving forwards in it. But again, I say that with a little asterisk. Can we turn it around? Yes, absolutely. Will we turn it around in 2024? If we win 5 games, I'll be over the moon. Anything more than that, I'm absolutely going crazy. But if we win 3-4 games, it's an improvement, sure. But I don't really think it is. I think it's the mask that Dave Canales needs to get a few years under his belt as an HC. And then we're eventually going to jettison him, unless it's just as bad as it was last year. And if that's the case, the common denominator might be more than just the head coach or just the GM. I don't think there was enough change so far, but again, it's only April 1st. And again, you're going to get this April 2nd, but I don't know how to be positive moving forward. The Panthers franchise, to be honest with you. I'm fully expecting us to pick the wrong person at 33. If we end up picking the right person, and again, I don't know who that is, I'm just going off of previous experience that we're going to pick the wrong guy. If we pick the right guy and, you know, a year or two down the road, we're like, wow, we stole this guy at 33. We stole this guy at 39. I'll be happy. But I fear that we're going to get another serviceable wide receiver that's going to take more than, you know, a single game in the NFL to get comfortable, kind of like Mingo took. And I think the investment in Robert Hunt, a little bit of investment in the defense might help us out. Obviously, I like Clowney, but to say Clowney and Brian Burns were even close to each other is asinine. Brian Burns is better than Jadeveon Clowney 100 out of 100 times. And if you guys want to ever check out that video, I could always make that one. But I just... this took some faith I have away from the Carolina Panthers. But I'm going to try and get it back. I told everybody I'm going to keep doing it. I got another mock coming out this week. Kind of a more of where I'm thinking we're going to actually be in the draft. But we shall see. Other than that, my name is Nick. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it opens your eyes up to David Allen Tepper a little bit more. This has been Roll Coverage. Peace.